So we have a little bit of a different service today than usual. We have some guest speakers that are going to be giving us an update about things going on. And I don't know, Taryn, do you want to come up and introduce them and give a little bit? All right.
Cool.
You got 2 microphones here.
Awesome. I got 2 microphones. I can talk into both at the same time. Or not. That doesn't work. Sorry, Justin. Justin's shaking his head in the back. Like, what is Taryn doing? He's ruining it. No. So, yeah, I'm super excited to be here with you guys today. Hi to everybody online. I'm excited that Lex and Renee, Edme are here, and Alante is with them, which is awesome. And they're going to share a little bit about what Mission of Hope International is doing in Haiti and the Dominican Republic, a little bit of work in Togo and Nicaragua and so many other places that they partner. But I'm really, really excited for you guys to get to hear from them a little bit, hear some of Lex's story for those who don't know Lex. And then hear some updates from Renee about different things that are going on in the ministry. And then I'll jump back up afterwards and kind of tie some pieces together and have a little message that I can share with you guys. So Lex and Renee, if you guys want to come on up, that would be great. And we actually have 2 mics. Let's just keep it to 1 per person.
Thank you, Taryn. Good morning, everyone. God bless you this morning. It was a wonderful worship this morning. I enjoyed the worship. Even I was kind of outside, looking out for my wife. So we, Lex and Renee, and we are a founding Mission of Hope International and in Haiti. As Taryn already tell you, different places we work, different kind of country. So this morning, I'm here to just tell you a little bit about my story, why we're doing what we're doing. So yeah, I try to break it down in 5 minutes if I can. So, and 50 years ago, women from Michigan came to Haiti. She came to the island I was born, called Lagonave. And what she did, she went to my village to visit my village, but she was a missionary from Michigan. So when she got there, her heart was to change somebody's life she ever met. And then she took my picture, and then she took my picture and she went back to Michigan to her church family. And then somebody there in her church in Michigan picked my picture and then decided to sponsor me and send money through her ministry for my education. Today, and I can say she's blessed to do what she did. And I becoming a pastor after I went to school, and she sent money through the ministry to get me education. I do not know what she was doing in order to give me education. And at that time you said, I saw people on television, asking for a sponsor a child. But I always telling people I'm one of those children where somebody decided to sponsor me to send money through a country, a people she don't even know, to get me education. I become a school teacher after I was graduate from high school and becoming a pastor. And back to year 2000, I live in America and then decided to go back to visit my family in Haiti. So when I got there, I saw everybody I know, they get old because the misery, because they don't have money. It's hard country. As you know, Haiti is still going through a situation, never ended. So it's not the fault of the children down there. They have no idea. They don't do thing, to make them live in that kind of situation. They're just children. And I came to you this morning to ask you for your support, for your help, to help us sponsor those children who come into our school and come into our feeding program in Haiti, and we can get them a sponsor and get them education just like this lady from Michigan did for me. I am the voice of those children right now. I do not know what this lady did to give me education, but God using her, she did it. And then I've been travel all over the world. We have a school in Haiti. We have two schools on over 800 children in the school. This is her, whatever she did, that's wonderful. God spoke to her heart and then to change life, all those children. This morning, and I'm blessed to be part of you. You know what? If this lady don't change my life, I don't even know if I will here today. But God can use you to change somebody's life somewhere. But you have one before you this morning. It's this little boy, just like me when I was a kid. He's looking for a sponsor. Okay? He's looking for a sponsor. If you're willing, God spoke to your heart, you feel like led to sponsor a child, a kid, we have plenty in the table in the room there. After church service, you can stop by our table. You'll be able to see what can you do to change somebody's life. Changing a kid's life around the world, this is God work in you to become a hand and a feet and a voice for your children. Right now, we have a lot of kids die in Haiti. A lot of kids die in Haiti, because the gangs take over most of the Port-au-Prince capital of the country. And then the other night, you probably heard in the news where they slandered 184 people, some children in there too. That's hard. But those parents, they run away from Port-au-Prince, they come into Grand Guave, where Mission of Hope is. We have a lot of them right now, we in care, we help them out. So, if this woman don't change my life, today, I will never be able to be here to tell you about the story. The story is real, it's true. It's not a make-up story. But I want to challenge you this morning to go over your spirit and your mind. See how can you help those children we have in Haiti right now looking for sponsor. With your sponsorship, they'll be able to get education just like I get education. Right now, I'm her voice. I didn't do what I'm doing for me. I'm carrying for her. She changed my life, and then now, thousand people around the world, children especially, have a life change right now. It's good to be with you this morning. Please pray for Haiti. Pray for Mission of Hope International. Pray for our staff right now in Haiti. Try to working hard to help those people who's in need, who come into Grand Guave area. We fed them, we cook for them, we take them in. It's not an easy thing to do. But let me tell you something, God is a blessing, amen? God is a good God. Thank you very much. If you like to sponsor a child, and then you can, after church, you can stop by, see us on the table in the back, and you can do so. I'll let my wife continue what she has to say.
Thank you, honey. Good morning. It's an honor and a privilege for us to be here with you this morning. Now, I am going to talk about Mission of Hope International and the things that we do in Haiti and the Dominican Republic, but I'm sorry, I have to give you a little personal background, too. You heard about Lex's childhood. Well, I was emancipated from my parents when I was 17 and lived on my own and ended up getting involved in a business, the Amway business, and started meeting people through that. Well, that's what led me to church. Basically, I wanted to go out and do some activities with people. I didn't have a car at that time, and I begged people to let me go to church with them. And I literally begged people because I was raised in the Jewish faith, and everybody knew that, and so they didn't want to invite me to church. So I literally said, is this like some kind of exclusive club? It's not like other churches, like I can't visit. And so they finally agreed, and I went to church. Now that Sunday, it was somebody else from in the Amway business that preached. But just walking into that church, which happened to be in a school auditorium, the people, they were joyful. They were happy to be there. I'd never seen this. I had visited several different churches in my childhood with friends, and it was always, oh, we have to go to church, you know. And I walked to this place, and they're clapping and raising their hands, which I thought was a little weird. But they're all smiling, like you could tell they wanted to be there, and they were really friendly. So there was a girl there that I had gone to school with, and I was so curious about everything. I ended up talking to her like all week long because she had said to me, did you go up front? And I was like, no, but I want to. I didn't know what it even meant to go up front. So the next week, Pastor Don Long was there, and he preached a message, and I couldn't wait to run up front and give my heart to the Lord. And it was a transformation. I mean, it was obvious that I had been saved. Ended up, lots of details I'm not going to go into, but fast forward probably a year and a half, and I ended up at the age of 19 living in his home. His oldest son, Scott, was only 5 years age difference. And so everybody would be in bed, and Scott and I would be up playing guitar, playing piano, singing songs, playing games, you know, and then I'd feel guilty and go to bed. But we became like siblings during that time. And we both went our own ways, did our own things, but after years, we reconnected again. And we used to collaborate both missions in Haiti. At one point, his mission was these crazy people, they bring these huge teams to Haiti. And so they needed extra housing. And so we would help house them, and we would do different things together. He'd come preach in our church in 2 languages, no translator. He did his own translating. Just an amazing man. And he was known at Mission of Hope in Haiti as Madam's brother. So it was just really cool how God really wove our lives together. Another interesting fact, I went to School of Ministry that Pastor Don was putting on, and one of my classmates was Kerry Twing. He was from Gardner, and he was getting ready to start a church, and then really actually did launch a church during that time. But I was so impressed by him because he cared so much for the people that he was shepherding. And wouldn't you know, eventually Lex and I end up at his church, and he's the one that Lex went to see to say, this is what's going on, I'm not understanding. And he's like, Lex, I think God wants you to go back to Haiti. And he was like, oh, no. But anyways, Carrie Twing and I met at Pastor Don's School of Ministry, and he became a very important person in our lives, too. So we have a lot of weaving in and out between our families. So to be here with you today, when I say it's an honor, it truly is an honor to see the legacy that he's left behind, and that you're serving the Lord with all your hearts and being a family together. I've been working side by side with Jordan and Tiffany, and it's just so cool. It's like the generations continued. He has a wonderful legacy. And I didn't even mention Taryn, but he's our coach. He's a lot more than a coach. When his dad passed, we felt really compelled to just be there for him. And it turned into something we never expected. Yeah, so it's really cool. Okay, is that enough of my history for you? You know who I am now? Sort of? Okay. So let's see. Let's flip to the next slide, and I'll start to tell you about Mission of Hope International. We were established in 2020 is when 2000. I'm getting old. It's been almost 25 years that we have been working in Haiti. Our children were like 2 and 3 years old when we moved there. Now, if I look back, I often say, what was I thinking? Why would I bring little kids down there? But God led us and God took care of us, right? So that is at the heart of our ministry, is the love for Haitian people. And then in the last 4 years, Haiti has been very difficult. We've not been able to bring teams down there. And so we decided we would launch something in the Dominican Republic. Now, Lex had been wanting to do this for years, but Renee said, I speak Creole. I don't want to speak Spanish. Well, we ended up going. And one of the big reasons was because we wanted to offer that mission trip to other people. We missed the interaction. We missed it was really a big part of our ministry, was helping to disciple other people as they came down. And so we decided we're going to go. We're not going to build a church. We're not going to build a school, because we have that in Haiti. But at this point, we're like, people already have ministries established there. They just need help. And so that's our goal in the Dominican Republic, is to come alongside others who are helping people. And the churches, we've just established a great rapport with probably about 15 pastors over there. So we're really excited about that aspect moving forward. We have medical ministry happening in the villages. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So anyways, in Haiti, we have 2 schools, 2 churches, medical and dental clinics, a radio station, and we do a lot of crisis intervention, I guess I could say. In the Dominican Republic, there's one village that we've really dug into. It's called La Grua, and it's a Haitian village. And it's a very poor Haitian village, and their lifestyle, I would say, is much worse than where our ministry is located in Haiti. You'd think, oh, I got to a different country, it's all good now. It's not all good. There's actually compounded problems because of the relationship between Dominicans and Haitians and the mindset. And it's a tough situation for them. They're being hunted actually right now to just get them out of the country. They like for them to work, but they don't like for them to be there. So I'm not sure. But anyway, it's very complicated. And then my husband took a trip to Togo, West Africa, and met a wonderful pastor there who we are partnering with. And he's actually planning a trip there for this coming fall. And mostly for church planting. We do work with another organization that does wells and schools. And the woman at the well, like everybody has to go to the well because they don't have running water. A lot of the villages don't have water at all. And so they take that opportunity to share the living water as well as the physical water. And here in the States, we've just assisted with, a lot of Haitians have migrated here or they've sought refuge here because things are really bad in Haiti right now. And so when they first arrived in Gardner, which is where we live, we helped with translating. We helped with legal, getting them lawyers and different things until another organization that was supposed to be doing it finally came in. And then, but we established relationships. I was called in to translate. When I talked with my husband, I told him where I was, what was going on, and I knew he's a pastor. He's going to come down and he's going to take care of people. So we do some of that as well. All right, let's go on to the next slide. Have I taken up 45 minutes already? I might not leave any time for you. Okay, so this is our family. On the left is our daughter and her husband. And this guy right here, Alante, is her oldest. Are you the oldest? Yes, he is, and he's pretty smart, too. And on the other side is our son, AJ, and his wife, Cherie. They are currently living in North Carolina. She's about to finish up her dental hygiene program, so I'm hoping they end up here again. So we're all in the same place. That's Lex and I in the middle. Go ahead. So Lex had a dream that when we go to Haiti, he wanted to have a school, and he wanted it to be the best school. So mission schools tend to have a reputation among the local people of being very mediocre. And it doesn't mean that all mission schools are, but it's the reputation. And so if you're sending your kid to a mission school, everybody knows it's because you don't have money, and they know that you're getting a subpar education. Lex didn't want that reputation for our school. And so his goal from the very beginning was to have a quality education, just like if you paid big bucks and went to a private school. And so that was the goal, and he accomplished it. I say he. It was a lot of people working together that accomplished that. And still today, we have one of the best schools in the country. Our high school students all pass their national exam, which is like really unheard of to do year after year after year. So that's Lex with a bunch of high school students. We have a computer lab, we have a library, those are two things that back when we got them, nobody had them. And then we start with preschool. Our first year, we had 3-year-old children in preschool going through 3rd grade. And each year we added a grade until we started graduating high school seniors. And that's a picture of them graduating. You can go ahead. I keep looking at the camera instead of the sound. Every year in Haiti, we put on a leadership conference. This conference has anywhere from 400 to 600 participants. During the day, we have sessions with all these different church leaders and pastors, and then in the evening, we go up to the church building and have kind of an evangelical come to Jesus type of moment, a preaching time. You can go ahead. We've had some great music ministry along the way, too. We have medical and dental clinics, and these are like a shining light in our community. People really value them. I was just reading something from one of our doctors, and he was telling me they call him a dermatologist now because he mixes up different medicines and makes a cream out of it and gives it to people who have acne. And it really clears it. And I mean acne, like really bad. And it clears it up. And so they love him. And we have a laboratory as well. Let's go on. I feel like I'm going too deep in each one. So I'm going to try to move along. Oh my goodness, this is one of our favorite things. And Tiffany has the baby all picked out, and one day she's going to sponsor this baby. She, like, every time we get pictures, she looks, where's my baby? But you know, it's those first 5 years are most critical for getting that nutritional base. And so we started to feed children right away. And it prepares them when they're school age, their brains are already functioning very well, rather than trying to play catch up. So that's awesome. We do feed the school children as well and all of our staff. Yeah, let's go to the next one. Dominican Republic. How would you like to take over for this part? Yeah. Taryn has a lot of experience with us there.
Cool. Yeah, so in the DR, Mohi is doing a ton of stuff. This past year, we've had over 125 people that have been on trips. You can run through the slides. We'll kind of just go through them. Playa, Cambiaso, and Cambiasas. So there's 3 villages that Mohi works in the DR. This one here is kind of a shared village between the Dominicans and the Haitians actually living together. It's a more established village. And we're doing medical and community checkups. And so one of the last teams that I was leading back in October, we were actually treating lice for a bunch of the kids because a whole bunch of them in the village had lice. And for those who have been to Haiti and experienced villages, who's actually been on a trip to Haiti before? Raise your hand. Awesome. So many of you. Cool. Who's never been on a trip to Haiti? Who's never been on a trip to, like, any mission trip? Who's been on a mission trip somewhere? Awesome. Cool. So for those who have been to Haiti, imagine like a village like Haiti, very similar, and one kid gets lice, like it just spreads, right? And you have everybody living in a little house together. They don't have a great way to wash their clothes. So even trying to treat one, it's like almost impossible to get it out. So it was really good that we were able to help. Let's go to the next slide there, Justin. Baraguana is the second village that Mohi works in. There's 2 villages that are known as bates, and these are really like refugee villages. They're places where several generations ago, Haitian men would come over from Haiti to the Dominican Republic, and it was set up more as like barrack-style housing for men that were working on the plantations. Over the generations, they sent for their families, came over to the DR, and they just added on these shacks, very poor living conditions, not great environments. And because a lot of the immigration laws, there's a lot of deportation, a lot of prejudice against the people that live there, not a lot of support when it comes to food and mentorship and helping a lot of these people. And so Baraguana's one of the villages that Mohi works in. That's a Haitian refugee village, does medical care, and also has a baby feeding program in that village, as well as, you can skip to the next slide, I think is this one's Luperon, so we'll come back to that. I'll explain that in a second. We had a crusade. Cool. La Grue is the other one. So this is the other Haitian bate, and you can see some of the kids in that helping to do some construction and laying some pipes for water filtration system that was just installed. That was really cool. Just getting that in April. And we're getting ready, Lord willing, to launch a after-school program in La Grua. So this is the village where we've done house building, we've put in clean water, we have a baby feeding program, and hopefully in January, if we can raise the money, we'll be launching an after-school program for the kids in that village. There's about 40 kids that are older. They get to go to school. School in the DR is open to any kid, whether you are, I wouldn't say legal, like immigrant or not. You can still go to school, get fed at school, but they have a lot of lack after they get out of school. Their parents aren't very engaged. They're not getting fed a lot of times at home. Some of it because the parents can't afford the food, and some of it, again, going back to some of the immigration stuff happening right now, they literally have immigration officers showing up at their doors, stealing their food. And so the fact of us being able to come in afternoons, we can just bring in just enough food every single day to make sure that they're being fed, that they're being taken care of and looked after. So our presence in these villages is really, really impactful right now. You can go to the next one. I don't know what this one is. Another one in La Grua. Yeah, it's some of the babies, super cute. This is the clean water. So I was just down with John in October. Awesome. And then Luperon's another one. We skipped past it, but Luperon is a city. It's not an enormous city, but it's still a city. And Luperon is very unique as a Dominican city because there's a lot of Haitians that live in Luperon. So again, a very established city, Haitians and Dominicans living together. We're working with a Haitian church in the city of Luperon, helping to actually build the church building there. We have a baby feeding program in Luperon with Dominican and Haitian babies that we're taking care of, starting a little bit of medical work there. We have a business academy there. Like, this is crazy, right? Like, I think it's been a year that we're coming up on now. A year being in the Dominican, and all this has already been established, which is really, really cool. 2 years, sorry. 2 years, still crazy, right? Like, all these things in 2 years. And so lots and lots of stuff. This year, we also added in a crusade that was in the public square of Luperon, and there was, 1,000 to 3,000 people in attendance that just came out from the city. We had bands come out, and it was amazing. 3 days being able to just share the love of Jesus, share the gospel, bring people to the Lord. Lots of people that made professions of faith and decisions to follow Jesus through that event. And like Renee said, there's about 15 different pastors and churches that we've been able to connect with in and around the city that are all doing this together. And so again, just that idea of unity, churches coming together, people working together is really, really cool. So yeah, lots of cool stuff. So I actually have another trip that I'm doing in January for anybody who's interested in going on a trip. I have a couple of trips that I'm leading with Mohi. They have trips like constantly. I think January through March, there's almost every single week they have a team down there. I have a team in January that I still have some open spots. So if anybody wants to come down in January with me, the 11th through the 18th, I would love to have some people come. I know there's some of you guys that have been on trips and others who have yet to go on trips. So it'd be really, really cool to get some of you guys coming down for some of those. Trying to think if I missed anything. I don't think so. Cool. All right, let me share. I have a little message, and I guess kind of a personal update. So it's really cool for me working with Mohi, lots of different organizations. I think it was maybe earlier on in this year I shared a little bit about what the Lord's been leading me into, and just a lot of transitions, right? A lot of different things going on. And I really felt like probably 3 years ago now that the Lord is really showing me this vision of stepping away from Mission E4, the things I was doing there, and stepping into a season of being able to come alongside lots of different ministries and coach them and help them to be able to accomplish the visions that God had given them. And it was about a year ago that I kind of got this idea more and more of legacy, and the idea of what is the legacy that we're leaving, and helping other people to say, what is the legacy that Lex and Renee are leaving? What is the legacy that is going to happen through this church? What is the legacy that every single one of us gets to carry on from somebody else, and we get to leave in others that come after us? And I love this picture of legacy and the idea of that. And even as Renee was talking, thinking about my grandpa Don, right? And that there's just so many little seeds that have been planted in so many different ways, that even this ministry came through the seeds that he planted 40 years ago or 30 years ago, School of Ministry, and, that preaching that message where Renee was a teenager and came to the altar and gave her life to the Lord, right? Like, who knew that seed would grow into this kind of thing in the future, right? Absolutely amazing. And so I love that I have the opportunity. I think I've worked with over 100 different leaders nonprofit organizations, some of it just one-on-one coaching, some of it organizational coaching. Just in the last year, I've had the opportunity to work with over 100 different leaders in helping them with the vision that God's given them to be able to help them carry on. I've done a ton with Mohi this last year, and I love that I'm able to be here to introduce you guys to Lex and Renee and share a little bit about that. I'm thrilled that Tiffany and Jordan have been able to get involved in some of the day-to-day work and helping out. They've been doing a phenomenal job helping to keep up with some of the child sponsorship stuff and putting on events and just, I don't even know everything that you guys do, but I know it's a lot. So Jordan's been processing lots of pictures from Haiti, I think, recently. So really, really cool. Well, when I was thinking about this idea of legacy, one of the images that comes to my mind a lot around legacy is an image of a tree. And there's really two sides to a tree. There's two different pieces of it. There's the tree that we see, the trunk and the branches and the leaves and the fruit and whatever else. And then there's this other side that's below the ground that we don't see, the root system that takes in all the nutrients and the health and all of those other things. Both pieces of the tree are incredibly important. If we don't have a good root system in a tree, what's going to happen to the tree? Falls over, topples over, can't produce good fruit, right? Like if it can't pull in enough nutrients, it just kind of withers up and dies. Or a big storm will come by and it blows it down and it's gone. And then if you don't have branches, like I think about apple trees or pear trees or whatever else, I learned a little bit about fruit trees specifically. If you prune a fruit tree back too far, it'll also die. It needs to be able to produce. It needs to be able to put out fruit. It has to have branches. It has to have buds. It has to have leaves to be able to take in the sun and go through its whole process of turning the carbon dioxide into oxygen and all the other things that the tree does, right? Like both pieces of it are incredibly important. And as I thought about this, I was thinking about Psalm 1 this morning, and it talks about a tree. And it compares how we, as righteous people, are like trees. So in Psalm 1, it says, "Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He's like a tree," here we go, "planted by streams of water, that yields its fruit in season, and its leaf does not wither. In all that he does, he prospers. The wicked are not so, but are like chaff that the wind drives away." And so as I thought about this idea of a tree planted by the water, right? Like this is the idea that the Lord wants for every single one of us, that we're those strong trees planted by water, taking in nutrients, that our leaves don't wither, that we can produce fruit in season. And I loved what Tiffany shared this morning. There's Tiffany back there. Colossians 3:17, talking about that everything we do in word or deed, we can do it to the glory of the Lord. That's the fruit that we can produce, right? That we are to live our lives to glorify the Lord. And it's interesting, again, there's so many lessons that we can learn around trees, this image of a tree. Like God's just taken so much meaning and put it into creation. And I think it's absolutely amazing how we can connect with him and connect with our life purpose through the example of something as basic as a tree. But as I thought about it again this morning, I was thinking about, that in everything there's a process, right? It talks about in Psalm 1 that it produces fruit in due season, that there's seasons that we go through in our lives. There's seasons that a tree goes through. There's times where, like wintertime right now, trees aren't producing any fruit. They've kind of closed up. They're shut in. They've lost their leaves. They're not dead. It's just a season that they're going through. And sometimes we might go through seasons where like, God, like I don't feel like any fruit's being produced. What's happening, right? Like we have to surrender to that process. We have to surrender to the Lord and say, right now, maybe the Lord's working more internally. Maybe he's working more on our roots. Maybe we need to take a season off and just not be producing. Like there's a reason why trees don't just produce all year long, all the time, right? And then there's other times where it gets to it and it's like, boom, like fruit, just here we go, right? All this stuff that's happening. And so it's interesting as I think about a tree, Like, does a tree have to try to produce fruit? Does it really think about it? Like, oh, I'm going to produce fruit today. It just is, right? Like, it's just existing in its state. Now, what a tree is doing that's really interesting is a tree does send out roots. It is constantly looking for water. If it's not finding water on the surface, it goes deeper. A tree grows. A tree just is. And then the byproduct of it nourishing itself and taking care of itself is producing leaves and producing fruit and all of those other things. And so for us, I think a big thing goes back to that idea of surrender that Tiffany was talking about this morning, that living our lives in worship to the Lord is a process of surrender and just saying, all right, I'm just going to be. I'm going to be in the season that God has me in. I'm going to exist in this space. And when God is ready for me to produce fruit, I'm going to produce fruit. When God wants me to just rest and be, then I'm just going to rest and be and not get really frustrated. Like, I don't think trees get really frustrated. Like, oh man, this is horrible. Like, I'm losing my leaves again. Like, it just happens, right? But how often do we get to that way? We're like, man, this is terrible, God. Like, I don't want to be in this season, right? And it's like, maybe there's a purpose for the season. Actually, there is a purpose for a season, not just maybe. And so, I think about this outward part of the tree and then thinking about the inward part of the tree, that we have to have the strong roots. We have to be healthy. There's a verse in Proverbs. I like to read Proverbs every morning. I like to go through and just read the proverb of the day. So today's the 14th. So I was reading Proverbs 14. And in Proverbs 14, verse 30, it says, a tranquil heart gives life to the flesh, but envy makes the bones rot. And I was thinking about, again, this idea of like life and rotting or death, right? Even in a tree, that you could have a tree that's just rotting out, it's just dead, or you can have a tree that has life and it's living well and it's producing the way that it should. And so I thought these words are really interesting. I'm like, tranquil heart, like, what does that mean? Like, let me go back to the Hebrew, try to look at it a little bit. And this word in Hebrew, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but the word for tranquil means like healing, and it talks about this idea of holistic health, that it's health not just physically, but it's health emotionally, physically, and spiritually. That there's these components of being holistically healthy, this idea of healing and this idea of just being in this place of peace and restoration. And I love that idea of having our heart in that place where we're focused on holistic health. We're focused on healthy living in every area of our life. And I think about that as like, that's the healthy roots. That's the healthy tree that can actually produce fruit. And a lot of times we might focus on the physical aspects of health. And so I just wrote down some specifics on this, applications for myself. I'm like, physical health includes exercise and eating healthy and getting good sleep and all the other practices that we need to keep our bodies physically healthy, keep our hearts physically healthy. And then the second piece of that is the emotional health that gets into the idea of not just bottling up our emotions, but learning to express, to be aware of our emotions, to release our emotions, that God actually gave us emotions so that we could feel, so that we could connect with him, not to be controlled by our emotions or to be afraid of our emotions and just put them behind us and shove them down, but God gave us motion so that we could experience life in different ways, so we could experience him in different ways, experience other people in different ways. There are no good or bad emotions if we know how to handle them. The only thing that's bad is if we let our emotions control us instead of us controlling our emotions. But it's actually important. It's healthy to take times to cry. Like yesterday, I took time and just cried. I was like, you know what? I'm sad today. Like, I'm going to cry. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually part of emotional health. A week ago, I was angry. I took time to go in my car and scream and yell and just let it all out and grunt. There's nothing wrong with anger. Like, even God gets angry. There's an appropriate way to express our anger, but when we just bottle it up and we hide it and we say that it's wrong and we say that it's bad, that's not emotional health, right? There's times where I'm happy and I'm joyful and I'm going to just jump up and down and I'm going to scream and yell and, right? All of these things are actually good to express. We shouldn't be bottling that up. That's not emotional health. And then spiritual health, that connection with the Lord. Are we taking time to connect with him every single day? Are we taking time to connect in prayer? Are we connected to the Holy Spirit? Are we connected to God in our lives? Are we allowing Holy Spirit to comfort us in the times of sadness and in the times of grief? Or are we just saying, like, I don't grieve, I don't need you, Holy Spirit. Like, God said he sent him to comfort us. Why would we need to be comforted if we don't feel sad, right? And so allowing our connection with Holy Spirit and with God to be there so that we have that spiritual health. So that idea of holistic health. The interesting word when I went into that, envy makes the bones rot. It's kind of a dual word, and I'm finding there's lots of duality in some of the different Hebrew words, which is really interesting. There's like this positive side of the word that talks about zeal. It talks about like God's fervent love for us, that there's a healthy jealousy that can be there. But then when it comes to humankind, there's this negative sense. This word envy that's translated from Hebrew is like a very strong emotion. Really interesting talking about emotions, right? Like it's actually a very strong emotion, but when we tend to practice that, it turns into a very negative thing. It turns into a very destructive thing that is all about envy and greed and jealousy, and I've got to get my own way, and I've got to be in control, and I've got to handle everything, right? It's all about me, and it's about me being in control instead of surrendering to God. And so when we're in that place, Proverbs talks about that being like rottenness to our bones. We're trying to control everything. We don't want to surrender to God. I'm jealous of what everybody else has, and I'm focused on what I don't have. I'm focused on my lack. That is what rots us out, right? And so, again, this idea of, are we healthy spiritually, mentally, emotionally, or are we just rotting out? Then ultimately, we want to be this healthy tree, healthy roots, that when we have that health, that will allow us in season to produce fruit. And again, I love this idea of legacy. I'm just going to leave you with this image again of a tree, that every single tree bears fruit after its own kind. Every tree has the ability to produce seeds, to produce more trees. An oak tree, an apple tree, it doesn't matter if it's a fruit that we would eat or not, it can continue to produce, right? Like every single tree has seeds. And I love the idea of thinking about like every single seed has the potential for another tree that can produce more seeds, that can produce more trees, that can produce more seeds, that can produce more trees, and it just goes on forever and ever. Like every single tree that we have, other than maybe fake ones, every single real tree that we have, like I'm thinking about trees outside, like the shrubs, the trees, the hedges, every single one of those plants and bushes came from a seed that goes all the way back to a tree or a bush or a hedge that existed thousands and thousands of years ago. Like God hasn't created any new, to my knowledge anyways, I guess I don't know. I haven't traveled everywhere and I haven't talked to God about this, but to my knowledge, God has not created any more trees since like those 6 days of creation when he first created the world. He created in those first 6 days, and it's just continually reproducing since then, 6,000 years ago or 5,000 years ago or however long ago it was, right? That every single tree that we have ties back to those original trees. It's part of their legacy. And I love this idea that every single one of us has the same thing. We have fruit that can be produced, seeds that can be produced out of our lives. We have seeds that we can plant in other people. Every single conversation we have, every single interaction we have is a seed that's being planted that has the opportunity, it has the potential to grow into something. Now, some of them, the seeds just fall, they go into somebody, and they don't produce anything at all. Just dies out, right? Just like seeds, like we might sow seed in a field. Some of it doesn't produce anything, some of it produces things. But every single interaction that we have is a seed that has a potential to grow into something, good or bad. But that's our legacy, right? Is our through other people, the seeds that we plant. Like, did my grandpa Don know that the seed that he was planting in Renee was going to grow into something? Like, who knows? He was doing what he felt like God was telling him to do, to stand up, to preach a message, to tell people about Jesus. And this young teenage girl comes forward and says, I want to give my life to Jesus. Like that one seed that was planted. And 40 years later, what it's grown into. Every single one of us have had seeds planted in us. We're part of somebody else's legacy that's gone before us. And I just shared recently a picture my grandpa Don, my dad, myself, and my son, Kendrick, we were speaking at a Rotary Club together. It was 7 years ago, like last week. Super crazy that the four of us got to speak together, right, and talk about this idea of legacy and generational ministry and helping people generationally. Every single one of us is carrying on from somebody else seeds that have been planted in us. And now we're that next generation of a tree that has been given seeds to go and plant in other people. We need to be intentional with every single interaction, be intentional with our lives. And ultimately, within the kingdom of God, I was thinking about this during worship, within the kingdom of God, every single one of us is carrying on the legacy of Jesus, ultimately. We're carrying on Jesus' legacy, that he planted something 2,000 years ago that he planted in his disciples, that they brought to their disciples, that they brought to their disciples. And I don't know how many generations back it is, but now it's in us. And we have all these trees, all these abilities to carry seeds and go plant them in other people. That every single one of us has a legacy. God wants to use every single one of us in a very unique way. He has unique places that he wants us to go, unique people that he wants us to talk to, interactions that only we can have that somebody else can't. And so, again, that's a lot of what I'm doing now with ministry leaders, is helping them understand how do they be intentional with the seed that God's given them, with the vision that God's given them, and helping them to spread that further and impact more people, and know how to do that in a way where they can also be healthy, where they can live their lives in a healthy way, stay connected to God, work through their emotions, work through their spiritual connection to God, the physical, the relational, all the other ways of being healthy, both personally and organizationally, both sides, right? Like there's the external, we have to have healthy organizations, and then the internal, we have to be healthy ourselves as leaders. And so I'm super excited as I continue to help different people and get to see this just expand and grow. And even with Mission E4, knowing that that was part of my dad's legacy, my legacy, that I still talk to Pastor Basile and things are still going well. And, Haiti's a mess, but they still have the schools going. And that's just another one of those seeds. And it's exciting for me to be in this next season where God's using me across lots and lots and lots of different ministries and organizations rather than being so focused on one. But again, I'm super excited that you guys got to meet Lex and Renee today. Another part of another seed, another legacy, another piece of all of that you guys get to learn about. Again, anybody who wants to come on a trip with me, I would love to have you come on a trip, January 11th through 18th. If that one doesn't work, I'll probably be leading another one in the summer. And then if anybody wants to sponsor your child. There's lots of kids that need sponsors. And then the last thing I'll say is if anybody wants to make a donation at all, we are trying to raise $20,000 to get this children's program, this after-school program up and running. I would love to be able to have all the funds that we need to do that before January. That would actually be kind of cool if we could have some of the people here help us launch that in January to be able to start that up. But the kids in that village, again, right now are in really, really desperate need, not getting food, not having access to just some of the basic necessities. I don't want to push that off much longer if we can come up with that $20,000 to be able to get that launched, get it going, make sure those kids are being taken care of. So yeah, thanks Jordan for letting us come in and talk, and super excited to see all of you guys.
Thank you, Taryn. Yes, it is amazing how God makes all these connections. And sometimes you don't even realize how everything's connected until much further down the road. And a lot like what Taryn was talking about with legacy and the seeds that are planted. The lady who sponsored Lex did not know how far that one act of sponsoring that child would go and the impact it would have on future generations. I think there's a movie that is played a lot at this time of year. It's A Wonderful Life. And I think so many people, we can tend to not realize the impact we each have. We think, well, I'm not going down to Haiti and starting a mission down there, and I'm not doing this, so what I do doesn't matter. But in It's a Wonderful Life, when the angel finally brings him back and shows him what life would have been like if he had never been born. And he says, well, you know, I'm better off dead. That's what he thought. But he finds out he wasn't there to save his younger brother's life when he was drowning in a frozen pond one winter. And therefore, his brother wasn't there to save the lives of all the servicemen that he was with. So the trickle-down effect of that one act that man did in saving his brother's life ended up with hundreds of people being saved. And think of the potential for the next generations. Think of the people who, during the Holocaust, risked their life to save one Jewish person, but it wasn't just that one Jewish person. It was all the generations that came through that one person. So never underestimate yourself and the seeds that you plant. Never underestimate, well, I only have $1 to give. Well, what did Yeshua say about the widow and her mite? The smallest of coin. He said that she gave everything that she had. And it had an impact. And you know, when we're faithful in the little things that we have, Yahweh can trust us with a lot. He can trust us with more. If he sees that I gave you this seed to sow, whether it be like Sherry says all the time, even if it's just a smile. You smiled at someone in the market one day. You don't know what that smile meant to them. It doesn't matter what you might be going through in your personal life. Doesn't matter what, you know, we can bless others even when we're going through difficult things ourselves. Even when we might be dealing with things and maybe our life's not perfect. None of us have perfect lives. I think we can all say that. We can always look at someone else and say, oh, if my life was only like them, if I could only be in that situation, if I only had this answer to prayer. But look at where you're not. You're not living in a little shanty village in the Dominican Republic, not knowing if someone's going to show up and steal your food. You know, we have a lot to be thankful for. Back to our message that we gave on Thanksgiving. We have a lot to be thankful for here in where we live. And so, you know, part of that is just looking, where can we sow our seeds? Where can we just plant that one seed and then apply our faith that seed will grow up? And that smile that I planted, now maybe that person will go and smile to someone else. Who knows if it might save someone's life who didn't think anyone cared about them. Don't underestimate those seeds, because those are our legacy. Love that, what you shared there. I think that's it. Do you have anything else? Do you have anything, Mom, that you wanted to say? Okay. We're going to let you guys go. If you online want to donate to Mission of Hope, what is the website, Renee? mohintl.org, and you can donate. You can sponsor a child on there. I encourage you to go, and this is a good seed into good ground, and it will have a harvest. So we thank you guys for joining us on Facebook. We bless you in the name of the Lord, and we will see you on Tuesday night at 7 p.m.